Hi everybody. I decided to do a little late night, last minute, unannounced live chat this evening. It is Saturday night, so probably most of you have better things to do than sit here and watch me on a live chat, but here I am. Hopefully I will be able to see questions and comments, so please feel free to leave them below so that I can respond to you. I'm going to have my phone out. I'm on my iPad here for the chat, but I'll have my phone out too. That way, between the phone and the iPad, I definitely should be able to see your questions. So anyway, until I get a comment or a question, I will just chat for a little bit. I do encourage that you say hello and leave a question if possible, because it makes it a lot more fun if I can have a conversation with you guys and we can kind of chat with each other instead of me just rambling to myself. So excuse me if I am fidgeting a lot. My neck has been super sore and I'm trying to kind of be comfortable while we're talking, but as you know, with neck issues, that is sometimes easier said than done. Yeah, so I kind of had a busy day today. I had a bridal shower to go to for a family friend who is a lovely young woman that I've known, well, since she was born, because I'm about 6 years older than her. Her and her sister were always like cousins to us growing up, so it was really nice to celebrate her special day with her. And then, sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my iPad here. I really need to get like some kind of tripod for this. Anyway, then I, had some errands to run and met up with my family. We were going to go to the Pirates game, the Pittsburgh Pirates, baseball team, but it was rainy and gross, so we met up at the casino for a little bit, hung out with my parents and my brother and his wife and my husband. My husband and I went and watched a little bit of the Penguins game, a little bit of the Pirates game, and then came home to pack for Cleveland because, as some of you know, we are going to Cleveland tomorrow night. He will be running the American Ninja Warrior course overnight Monday into Tuesday. It's his second time competing on Ninja Warrior, and we're hoping that he does awesome and makes it onto the show. So we're really excited about that. I'm hoping my body holds up. I'm very sore. I got my Botox for migraine injections yesterday, and they sometimes leave you a little sore, so like my forehead just to the touch is, a little tender, my neck and shoulders, because they do the injections all through here. They do some on your scalp. They do some on the back of your head, like where I have my scar from my brain surgery. They do some right here, and back there in your shoulders. So a couple right here, right here, right here. I mean, it's all over. I forget how many injections you get, but it's like 32, I want to say. I might have made that number up. I think it's around 32. It's a lot. And so I feel a little bit sore just from the injections themselves. But also, Botox is a toxin. I probably am going to butcher the name of it, but it's like botulinum toxin. Whatever it is associated with like botulism. So it is a toxic substance. It does help for migraines though, and obviously some people use it for cosmetic stuff. But it's not without side effects. So last night, as some of you may have seen on my Facebook or Instagram, I had the pleasure of interviewing actor Ian M. Harding. He is best known as Ezra Fitz on Pretty Little Liars, but he actually, and let me see if I can find his book so I can plug it. He actually just wrote a book called Odd Birds. It's very good so far. Signed it for me. But I was lucky enough to have the honor of interviewing him before the book signing. So before the general public got there, I got to go talk with him for about 20-25 minutes in a little back room, you know, with his publicist was there and everything, but they pretty much let me ask him whatever I wanted, and I kind of had a free range conversation with him. I am a freelance book reviewer for the local newspaper called the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, so I'm reviewing the book. So obviously our conversation was mostly focused on his book and his writing career, not his acting or what have you. But I did really want to mention to him that I'm grateful for the fact that he advocates so much for lupus. And we kind of segued into that conversation pretty naturally, because when I went in to interview him, he asked if I wanted a cookie, because there were cookies sitting there. And I explained that I'm gluten-free, you know, so I can't have the cookies. And he was like, oh, do you have celiac? And I was kind of taken aback, because not everyone knows what celiac is. Most people have heard of gluten-free by now, but not everyone knows celiac. And I had heard that he did a lot of work with autoimmune and lupus causes, so it kind of clicked that he probably knew about celiac because of the autoimmune connection. And he said someone in his family had celiac, and we kind of got to chatting, and before I started the interview, I just thanked him for the work he's done to bring awareness to, you know, to these autoimmune causes, and especially lupus. And I, you know, briefly told him, yeah, I have RA, I have celiac disease, you know, and then I have a lupus and Sjogren's overlap syndrome. And he seemed pretty surprised by that, and we kind of joked because he said his first magazine cover was Lupus Now magazine, which is the Lupus Foundation magazine, and I actually have been quoted in that magazine as well. So we kind of connected over that, and I'm really excited to read the book. I'm giving it a free plug because he was super nice, and so far from what I've read, he's a talented writer. As many of you know, I am a writer myself, and I've written a few of my own books, and I love to support fellow authors, especially when they are awesome, you know, that, like, awesome in the sense that they are still doing good work. Like, he does a ton of work, as I said, for lupus, and he wants to start kind of getting into animal conservation causes as well, which is super important to me too, as many of you know. So yeah, follow him on social and everything. Check out his book. I didn't get to talk to him about it, but I think he actually recently either won an award from the Lupus Foundation or was at a lupus gala or something of that nature. So he's very involved. He walks the walk when it comes to that, and I really appreciate when celebrities take the time to do that. So yeah, so that was last night, and when I got home, let's say the side effects from the Botox were really starting to kick in. I was so miserable when I got home, and I felt so bad for my poor husband because I was not in the best mood. I mean, I was, you know, happy that the event went well and that Mr. Harding was very nice, and I thought the interview went well, and it was nice, you know, to get to do, and Barnes & Noble were very accommodating. They were great. But yeah, as soon as I was on my drive home, it was like everything hit me. And I was so sore. I was so miserable. And I still had to come home. It was like 7:30 at night and still had to make dinner. And I was a little grumpy, and I don't always get grumpy, but lately, I mean, it's just been tough to not get grumpy sometimes when you're always, you know, having pain or being sick or what have you. This particular week has been really challenging because I don't know if all of you saw, but I was really sick earlier in the week. I had a viral infection. My lymph nodes were enlarged, so there was an infection in my glands, you know, my lymph nodes, ear, throat, and I had like sinus headache, sinus pressure. And then they gave me like a really high dose of this liquid, you know, oral steroid that you drink. And I got so nauseous from it, and I was really sick for a couple days there. It mostly passed. My throat is still iffy, but for the most part I feel a little bit better. My ear is not hurting anymore. My lymph nodes feel better. My glands aren't hurting anymore. But it just sucked because this is like the third or fourth time in about I want to say 2 months that I've been what I call normal person sick. So what I mean by normal person sick is they are like acute kind of illnesses, versus the chronic stuff. And like, I want to say a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, I had strep throat and an ear infection and something called dacrocystitis, which is a cyst in your tear duct right here. So I had strep throat, ear infection, dacrocystitis, and I might be saying that one wrong. The following week, I had the stomach flu. I was the sickest I've ever been for like almost a full week. Not a full week, maybe like 5 days. Went on my trip to Montreal. I was pretty much feeling better, came back, had a few bad migraines, a few bad RA flares, but for the most part, I was okay. And then this week, I think it was Tuesday, Monday night, I'm trying to remember what I did. No, it was Tuesday night. I spoke on a patient leader panel. Excuse me, my nose is itchy. I spoke on a patient leader panel for We Go Health. I actually did a live chat that night too, and I was sort of saying during the live chat, hey, my throat's hurting a little bit. Well, I came home, started feeling crappy, and next day woke up, took my dog to the vet. He has a soft tissue tear in his leg. Immediately after the vet, I went to the urgent care, and they're like, yeah, you definitely have a pretty bad viral infection. Lots of fluids, lots of rest. So I had a lot of days this week of just being, low key. Had to cancel my hair appointment, had to reschedule some meetings and stuff. So it wasn't a fun week. It was that's what's odd about being sick. You kind of get used to sickness, and so you're still able to adapt and kind of like live a normal life, if that makes sense. Now, I try not to go around people too much when I'm contagious or like normal person sick. But I did not feel well at all this week, but it's been a good week. I got to speak on the We Go Health patient leader panel. I got to interview, Ian Harding yesterday. Today I got to go to my friend's bridal shower and hang out with my family at the casino. And tomorrow we're doing a little birthday party for my dad. And then my husband and I are going to Cleveland so that he can compete on a national TV show. I mean, it's pretty cool. So people always ask me how I stay positive, and that's really what it is. Like right now, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying my back is in excruciating pain, but I'm trying to ignore it, and I'm trying to, just focus on all these good things and talk with you guys. And that's how I cope. When people ask how I stay positive, that's how I cope. I push forward, do what I can when I can do it. Rest when I have to, take a step back when I have to, but always remember that there is still good to be had. There is still fun to be had. You can still be productive and live as best a life you can, even if you are chronically sick or acutely sick. You can always choose to do what you can. You could choose to give up, or you can choose to do your best. And I choose to do my best most days. There are some days where I'm like, nope, just gonna be a lazy bones today and let myself bask in kind of the being sick, because sometimes you have to do that. But I try really hard to live as good a life as I can. And I might be hurting right now. Actually, I shouldn't say I might be, I am. My upper back hurts, my neck hurts, my knee and my foot hurt. I've kind of had a headache off and on all day, but life is still good. And if you take the time to think about that and focus on that, you'll see that life is good. Now, it's not always perfect. It's not always easy. Bad things will happen, but it's up to you how you respond to those bad things. Are you going to let them define you, or are you going to just embrace the situation as best you can and move on to the next? And I wrote a post, about the fact that the whole like thinking yourself well thing is BS. That's my opinion. And when I talk about being positive and I talk about the power of positivity, I don't mean that you can control your sickness or that being positive is going to cure you or make you feel better physically, but it can't hurt. I think it can only have positive effects and bring good to your life. I do believe in the power of prayer. I do believe to an extent in the law of attraction, but I don't believe we cause our illnesses, and therefore I don't believe we can cure them because they're not curable. Maybe someday they will be, and all we can do is hope and pray and believe that they might be cured someday. But until then, we can choose to block out as much of the negative as we can. And the negative stuff that we can't block out, we have to try to roll with, I think. I don't like when people make it sound like, well, you know, if you just are positive and happy and have the right optimistic mindset, you know, you'll be better. I don't believe it, because if that was the case, I would have been better a long time ago. I am a good person, I think. I'm pretty positive and pretty optimistic given the cards that I've been dealt in terms of my health. I'm a faithful person. I don't really buy into all the politics of religion, but I'm very faithful and spiritual. And I think I live a good life, and I treat people with kindness and respect and empathy and compassion. So, you know, if all of that meant that, hey, you know, people that think and act this way or, you know, you can bring yourself health, well, why hasn't it happened yet? And then how do you explain, you know, kids that are born with illness? It's just a really sticky area to go there. It's kind of a spiral when you start to blame people for their illnesses or act like they can cure themselves through their mindset. You know, I am not saying a positive mindset is bad. I think a positive mindset is awesome. I am all about it, but I think it can be just a little bit harmful and a little bit detrimental to act like a positive mindset is all we need to get better. It's not all we need. Maybe for some people that does work. Maybe some people have had such great luck with the law of attraction that they just kind of thought themselves well, and more power to them. I mean, if that has actually happened, and I'm not saying it hasn't because I believe that anything is possible, then great, but that's not the norm. And I think it's a little bit dangerous to act like it's the norm. By the way, I am seeing your comments. I'm just finishing my little rant, and then I'll go through and respond to you guys. So please keep the comments coming and any questions you want me to answer. But just real quick, back to what I'm getting at is I heard a politician earlier in this week, and I'm sure some of you may have heard him as well. I think his name was Mo Brooks. I think he was from Alabama. Senator? Congressman? Can't remember. Point is, he's, I think, a GOP congressman. I'm not sure. Mo Brooks. He's from, I think, Alabama. And he basically said, when talking about the new lovely health care bill, well, you know, good people that live good lives and make good choices don't, or no, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. He said something about good people that lead good lives and make good choices are healthy. What? Like implying that people that aren't healthy lead bad lives or are bad people or made bad choices to get to where they were, and therefore they're not healthy and therefore don't deserve the same health insurance? Like, the whole thing is ridiculous. The whole healthcare bill, is absolutely inhumane, insulting, frustrating, maddening. I can't even talk about it right now. I'm so upset by it. But that comment in particular illustrated just the ignorance that abounds even among people who are in positions of power, who are supposed to be educated, supposed to be for the people. I don't really believe that they usually are, but I couldn't believe when he said that. It's like, do you really think that like kids, you know, that are 2 years old or 2 days old that have a terrible health problem brought it upon themselves because they were led a bad life? And do you really think that everyone that leads a good life is healthy? Because that doesn't make any sense. If you want to read more about my thoughts on the healthcare situation, just scroll back through my timeline because I've been talking about it and posting about it all week. I'm eventually going to put those posts into a blog on my Arthritis Ashley blog so that you guys can see it. My hope and my prayer in regards to the AHCA is that, and that's Trump Care, by the way, same thing. That's the new health care bill that was passed. I'm hoping that it doesn't make it through the Senate, which I don't think it will. If they do want to pass it in the Senate, I hope that it's very revised compared to what it is now, because what it is now is a nightmare for a lot of people. The majority of people. It doesn't really benefit anybody except rich, really healthy, really rich people. I mean, and them and the members, members of the Congress, and they exempted themselves. They get wonderful health care. What about the rest of us, And at first people thought, well, it wasn't going to affect people on group plans, like employer-based plans or group policies. Nope. Some of these changes can affect people on group policies. It will affect people with pre-existing conditions. Well, depending on your state, it could. It will affect, everyone that's currently on Obamacare, etc. It's heartbreaking. This is, at this point, okay, maybe some of this started off as Republican versus Democrat, partisan politics, Trump versus Hillary, whatever, or, going back to, everyone wanting to blame everything on Obama, whatever. Maybe this started out as that. But at this point, I'm talking to all of you. I'm telling you, this will affect everybody in the United States, almost everybody in the United States, I should say. Unless you are very rich and 100% healthy and can guarantee that you are never going to get sick and therefore be labeled with a pre-existing condition, this will affect you. The only people that it might benefit are young people, particularly in their 20s, maybe some people, I'd say age 40 and under, if you're in perfect health, if you don't have a pre-existing condition. You're going to have a little bit easier time if you are on an employer-based group policy, but it doesn't exempt you from some of these changes. So don't think you're safe just because you get healthcare benefits through your job. It's really scary for a lot of people. There's a lot of noise to sort through, so I beg you to look at the facts. I've had a couple people send me articles that are in favor of the AHCA, and that is all well and good. I'm a very open-minded person, and I read both sides of everything, and I have a journalist background, so I like to do research, and but I am fair. I will keep an open mind and hear both sides of it, but some of the articles I'm being sent are either from like blog type sites that aren't accredited, or they are paid for by super PACs that support the GOP. So naturally, if you know what a super PAC is, and if they're supporting the GOP, obviously it's going to be very, very, very biased, more biased than any news channel or any newspaper. It's going to be probably the most biased thing you can read. So I wouldn't, I'd be careful, source your information, make sure you know who and where it's coming from. In this day and age, it's hard to sort through all of that and find out what is legit and what is not. I'm very lucky and blessed that I do have that background in reporting and in research, because as a freelance journalist and having a background in that kind of stuff, both, from college and as a professional, I kind of do know where and how to look for like real news, because there is a lot of, nonsense out there. I hate the term fake news. There is a such thing as fake news, but a lot of the people that use this term are not using it correctly. So I try to stay away from that word, or rather that phrase. So I just do want to be clear that there's nothing really out there saying that the AHCA is good for, anybody really. There are now GOP congressmen coming out yesterday and today who voted for it, who are saying, yeah, this isn't great, and admitting that they didn't even read it. And the fact that some of them are coming out against the thing they voted for says a lot. That never happens, and you will find several examples of that now. Also, in a unique twist, doctors, hospital systems, and insurance companies are all on the same page that this is bad. Usually, they all are kind of bickering about what's best for the patients, or some of those entities just want money, so they don't really care what's best for the patients. But this is one of those occasions where they are all coming out and saying, nope, this is bad. And so are patient advocacy groups. So if you think about just the sheer magnitude of professional people who get it, who work in these industries, that are coming out and saying, this is terrible, red flag, this is bad, it's bad. And they did a poll, I think over 60% of voting Americans were opposed to it, and these people still voted it through. I mean, that's just not cool in my opinion. We elect these officials. They work for us. It doesn't matter what party you voted for or what party you're registered for. The people in Congress, both sides, of the aisle, they work for us. They work for the American people. And we need to hold them accountable, because this is a decision that has the potential to impact millions and millions and millions of Americans. And it could be catastrophic. A lot of us are devastated about it, and rightfully so. I'm in a position right now where I'm pretty lucky with my health insurance. I'm very blessed to have wonderful benefits, but I have a million pre-existing conditions. And I'm a woman, which if you've read about it, you know that that's problematic in this new healthcare bill. Luckily my husband's a school teacher and I get insurance through him, but it's really scary to think that if his school switched insurers, or there was any kind of lapse in coverage for any reason, or we got a divorce, God forbid, or any number of things, that I might be uninsurable. The other part of this is, for those of you who don't know, they basically, in this new bill, certain, let me explain this. So with the creation of the ACA, which was Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, there were provisions in there so that the patient could only pay up to a certain dollar amount out of pocket for treatments, ever. They never could pay more than that. It would be illegal for insurance companies to try to make them pay more than that. And that number varied depending on your policy, depending on, I don't even know what the other factors are, so I'm not going to pretend I know. But that was a godsend for a lot of people who didn't even know they were benefiting from it. And that's the problem. Not a lot of people knew what parts of the ACA they were benefiting from. And that, that's, I don't know whose fault that is. Maybe they should have done a better job of explaining that. But that was something that if you have RA, trust me, you were benefiting from not having to pay higher than X amount of dollars on your treatments. You may have been paying a lot. No one's saying you didn't pay a lot, but believe it or not, that number was capped. And before Obamacare, before the ACA, there wasn't a cap. And so people were going bankrupt, losing their homes, losing their livelihoods, going into major medical debt, more than now. And that was a huge plus in the ACA for those of us with chronic conditions. Now, the AHCA, which is which is Trump Care, that just got passed through the House this week, that when they're repealing everything with the ACA, they're removing that. So essentially, insurance companies, and it's going to be up to the individual state, I think. So some states still might mandate that, but some states and some insurance companies might remove that cap. So there will no longer be a limit on how much a patient can spend out of pocket. And then we can look at more bankruptcy and more medical debt due to health problems, and that's vastly unfair. In addition to that, premiums will go up for people who have pre-existing conditions, and it will be harder to get insured if you have a pre-existing condition. Some of the essential health benefits are being removed. This includes ambulance rides, prescription medications, ER visits, all this kind of stuff. So it's a shame. And at this point, it's, it is what it is. It's too late to do anything about it getting through Congress, because it already did. But now that you know more, do more. If you're worried about this in any way, write to your senator, call your senators, email, fax, visit them. And then also make sure your members of Congress, I should say, make sure they know that they screwed up with this one. They're off for a while. So go to the town halls, set up meetings and appointments with them. This is really important, guys. This is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. This is a humanity issue. The AHCA is not only fiscally and morally irresponsible and stupid, but it's reprehensible in terms of just humanity. It's really not great for our economy. And people are going to wake up and see that the more they learn about it. So I'm praying, I really am, and this is where that faith that I was talking about earlier comes in. I am praying that Senate says no, and that this doesn't continue, or if it does, that there are new iterations of it that are benefiting more people. Because let's face it, I mean, there are problems with the ACA, which is Obamacare. There's lots of problems there that really need to be fixed and addressed, but this bill that was passed this week is not, it's not the answer. I don't care what your political party is, it's just not. So, I am done ranting. I had a lot I wanted to talk about, so I apologize, but now I'm going to go back. I'm going to answer your comments and your questions, and I really hope that you will continue asking me questions because I love responding to them. So I'll go back to the beginning now. Hold on, I'm cracking my back, sorry. Well, I wanted to crack my back, but it's not cracking. So annoying. Okay, let's see. Trying to resituate so I can... Okay. Hi, Michael Hubert. Are you still on? Wanted to say hi. I saw that you joined. Okay. Oh, and before I start reading the comments and questions, sad news today. A guy that I went to school with since like preschool passed away last night. Today was his birthday. And I don't know what the cause was. Right now there's speculation, but so sad, so jarring. He was always smiling, always had a smile on his face, and it was really upsetting to get that news today. He was only 33 years old, and so I want to give a quick rest in peace to Nate, and my thoughts and prayers, sympathies and condolences go out to his family. And it's just a reminder to everybody that life is short and precious, so even if you are sick, you should try to make the best of the life you are given, because not everyone gets to live that long, full life that we all dream of. So yeah, that was sad news today. Just thought I would mention it. It's been on my mind. Okay. Rebecca, hi. Australia. Okay, really cool that I have people watching from Australia. I love that. So thank you for tuning in, Rebecca. You're so sweet. Reading your comments. I'm no one's hero. I mean, I shouldn't be. I'm nothing special, but thank you very much for saying that. You're really nice. Your comment says, still relevant, his book for other autoimmune diseases. Oh, so his book, actually, I'm only about 42 pages into it. He hasn't really talked about autoimmune diseases yet in his book. His book is more of a memoir about his life in Hollywood, kind of told through a series of essays, and through the lens of a bird watcher, because he's an avid bird watcher. He's into birding and ornithology, which is really unique for, you know, a young man in Hollywood. So he's kind of telling his whole story from that point of view. Since his mom has lupus, I'm sure it'll be addressed in the book. He did sort of start talking about it already, but I'm not that far into the book that I really know how much of the book is focused on her lupus. But I assume that if you read it and he talks about lupus, regardless of which condition you have, you might be able to relate. Because even the small bit I did read so far about lupus, I definitely, you know, he was talking about his mom's situation. I related to it so much. And I only have a lupus overlap. RA is my primary condition, so I was able to relate to that portion. And even if he doesn't talk about lupus or autoimmune disease that much in his book, he does support these causes publicly, and does some work with the Lupus Foundation. So that's pretty cool. But his book, again, if you want to know, is called Odd Birds. And it just came out like this week, I think. And that's the cover again, just so you can see it. He's doing like a book tour right now. I got to interview him, but anybody could buy a copy of the book and get a wristband and go get a photo op with him real quick and get your book signed. So yeah, if you want to just do that, you can. You can check and see if he's coming to your city. But I'll let you know after I write my review and everything. I'll let you guys know how the book was. But definitely follow him, just even for the work he does with lupus causes. Okay. Hi, Ken. Yeah, I was just telling my husband I am a little bit of a night owl. It's really funny because I read a quote one day. It was like in a meme. Sorry, guys, I'm really sore. That's why I keep fidgeting. I read a quote in a meme. I'm probably going to butcher it. Maybe I can find it. Oh, no, I remember. I was going to Google it, but I remember it. It said, I'm not an early bird or a night owl. I'm just some kind of permanently exhausted pigeon. And I just thought that was really funny. So, yeah. But, yep, I'm up with the rest of the night owls, Ken. I'm sorry your pain has been so brutal. The weather has been rainy, cloudy, and dreary here as well. We were actually supposed to go see the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game tonight, and it was just too gross out. We decided not to go. And you guys know, if you've been to an outdoor sporting event in the rain or snow or cold, you know sitting on those bleachers or on those chairs at a stadium, it's just, if you have any kind of chronic pain problem, that's rough. So I didn't mind not going. Let's see, scrolling. Yes, Rebecca, I like your attitude. Good things do happen to sick people. Bad things happen to healthy people. Being sick doesn't mean you have a bad life. Julie Cerrone, who's awesome, actually writes a blog called It's Just a Bad Day, Not a Bad Life, about her life with illness. And she's an awesome patient expert and advocate at We Go Health. But I love that. I love that saying. I had seen that quote before, and then when I met her online years ago and saw that was her blog, I thought that's perfect, There's a lot of bad days when you have chronic pain or chronic illness, but it doesn't mean it's a bad life. So that's something always to remember. Thank you for pointing that out, Rebecca, because I totally agree. Yeah, Ken, I am so with you. I think you're saying you get worried about running into sick people because it seems like they're everywhere. I totally agree. So, every time that I go to a public function where there's a lot of people, I end up getting sick afterwards. Like when I got the strep and the dacryocystitis and the ear infection and everything a while ago, it was right after I went to this wine festival with my mom that was at the convention center, and there was tons of people. And then there was something the following weekend. I can't remember what it was, but wherever it was, I was shaking hands with people. It was very crowded, and then I got the stomach flu. And then I was good, but then I went to Montreal, and I was flying and in airports, and I had a little lull of feeling normal, and then I got this viral infection. So it's I get really nervous around large groups of people sometimes, not because of anxiety, but just because my immune system doesn't like me. So I shook a ton of hands at the patient leader panel on a Tuesday, and then I shook some hands at the book signing and interview last night. So I'm constantly using the antibacterial hand sanitizer and everything else. I just don't know what to do. I mean, when you have issues with your immune system, you can't become a hermit and just live your entire life in your house unless that's your choice. But you just got to be prepared that you might get sick, and that sucks. Yes, Rebecca, you are very lucky to have that type of health care in Australia. Actually, the United States is not even in the top 10 for the best healthcare in the world. And you know, our country loves to call itself one of the greatest countries in the world, the most powerful country in the world, and this first world nation. We're the only one who doesn't have some form of like socialized medicine or single payer system or universal health care. You know, some nations might not have it like 100%, you know, single payer, but there's some kind of hybrid system there. Our healthcare system here is weird. I mean, we have some of the best healthcare in terms of the care. So like in terms of the advancements and the treatments and the hospitals, in terms of the actual care, we have some great doctors and great medical research and access to great treatments and everything like that. So like that part, we're good. But the paying for it and the pharma industry and the healthcare system with the insurers and everything like that, not good. If you look up any lists of the best healthcare in the world, the United States is not in the top 10. And for being the most powerful nation in the world and the greatest country on earth and all these things that people say that are super ethnocentric, I'm not naive enough to walk around saying crap like that because it's super arrogant. I mean, I love America. I love the United States. I'm truly a patriot, but I don't have my head up my butt. I know we have a lot of improvements to make in this country because we are falling behind in a lot of areas, such as healthcare and education. It's very sad. That yeah, I see our country moving towards a different type of healthcare system in the future if things continue to progress. But right now, a lot of stuff is regressing. It's going in the wrong direction. I'm going to get off that topic so I don't offend anybody. But yeah, we're going backwards in a lot of ways, and it's really sad and scary for the future. Yeah, you're right, Rebecca. No one's 100% healthy. Some of us have a larger percentage of unhealthiness than others, but you're right. No one is 100% healthy, and that's why the whole pre-existing condition thing is like nutso to me. Yeah, Ken, I agree. I have no idea how a lot of these people got in power, but it is what it is, and I agree with you also that the new bill is worse than terrible because there needs to be, I said this to my husband the other night, there needs to be like a new adjective for it. It's so bad. There's no words. I'm a writer. I'm a talker. I'm like very into language and words. I have an immense vocabulary. But I can't think of the right word to describe how bad the new healthcare bill is and how crazy our current state of government is. It's yeah, no words. Let's see. So Rebecca said, and maybe someone can answer this that has, sorry guys, my back. Maybe someone can answer this that has more knowledge of this than me, because I don't know that I can answer this question without researching it a little bit first. Rebecca said, I am an American-Australian dual citizen with voting abilities in New Mexico. How can I best support better health care politically in the United States? Well, Rebecca, I don't know the voting rules, to be honest with you, for our elections if someone holds dual citizenship. I assume if you're a dual citizen and you have U.S. citizenship, you can vote in our elections. But I don't know if there's some kind of issue there with residency or not. So I would look into that for future reference. But if you are a dual citizen, I think probably something you can do, even if you're not able to vote in those elections, is if you do hold voting abilities in New Mexico, you're probably able to call and write and email the New Mexico senators and, state representative, congressmen, and just voice your concerns since you are a dual citizen. So yeah, and maybe message me privately. I might be able to send you some links that maybe could be helpful. But yeah, I think there's probably lots of ways that you can support it and help get better health care for Americans. Part of this is awareness, so just spreading the message online Definitely outreach to people in the government, but also to members of the voting public who may not be as educated on these issues as they could be, because people don't know what they don't know and are often going to just vote the way they always vote, and just support their party. I'm somebody that has been registered as Republican, Democrat, and Independent. I don't let a party dictate my beliefs. So I always take the time to educate myself on all the issues and all the candidates and make the best informed decisions that I can after the fact. And, you know, sometimes throughout my life, my political ideologies have changed a bit. But that said, there's a wealth of information out there if you want to seek it. And so what you could do to help is just, you know, spread information and spread awareness so that other people who are able to vote, and or who are able to make an impact, have the right information, so that they can contact their, the members of the Senate and things like that and voice their concerns. I think the best way to be an empowered patient is to also empower other patients. So, yeah, anything you can do to inform, educate, inspire, and spread awareness would be really helpful. But I'm sorry I can't more clearly and more specifically answer your question. I know, a decent amount about political issues, but there are still certain things about politics and rules that I don't really know. Like I don't know what the voting law is for a dual citizen. So definitely look that up. But in the meantime, I appreciate your support just by voicing your support and just asking how you can help. That's awesome, because not a lot of people, even in this country, take the time to ask how they can help. So thank you very much, Rebecca. Honestly, that's awesome. Oh, you're welcome. It's very nice that you said that, but you don't have to thank me for creating awareness. This is like really important to me. And I don't just mean the healthcare bill. I mean all of it. It's all really important to me, and I wouldn't be able to cope with my medical problems as well, or as healthily, if I wasn't also doing something good to help further the cause and spread awareness in return. And if I can help other people along the way, then it makes it that much easier and that much happier. So thank you. Okay. Oh, so you do vote in New Mexico. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the best thing you could do at this moment about the AHCA would be to write, call, email, fax your senators in New Mexico, because that's going to be the next step. The healthcare bill already, went to Congress, and so it's great if you want to tell them that you're disappointed and express your concern and frustration to them, just so they know, like, hey, they kind of screwed up. But more importantly would be to get Senate to, to dissuade them from voting it through, I think. Sorry, by the way, guys, about my one of my dogs is in the background. I have 3 of them, but the pug is always like right by me, so she's always snorting in the back of my live chats, and it's kind of funny. She's loud. Yeah, and that's a perfect concept to end on, Rebecca. I agree that if you're dealing with pain and dealing with sickness, it really helps to focus on something else, focus on something bigger than yourself, focus on helping other people's with their problems, and focus on the greater good instead of always just dwelling on yourself and dwelling on your own problems. And that's actually something I talk about a lot in my work when I do like public speaking, and in my books I talk about it as well. I'm all about turning pain into purpose and sickness into strength, and making your mess a message and all of that stuff. I think that's really important. That's something that I stand by, and I think that that's like, when people ask me advice for living with chronic illness, that's always a piece of advice I give. Volunteer, donate your time, get behind a cause or a charity that you're passionate about, or just take the time to be kind and empathetic and help other people. It definitely can be helpful to focus on other people instead of dwelling on your problems. If you want to read more about that, the Lion magazine, which is the International Lions Club magazine that goes to like millions of people worldwide. It's in like 20 different languages. You can also look at it online. They did a feature on me last month, and was actually the May issue, and that's something that I talk about. Was I joined the Lions Club in honor of my late grandfather, but also just because I was dealing with my own stuff and I wanted to help other people instead of just, instead of just focusing on my stuff. And that's something I talked about on the We Go Health panel the other night too, which if you want to watch that, it's on the We Go Health Facebook page. So before I go, I would just say I wrote a recent Healthline article that had some good news for RA patients. The mortality rate from RA is going down, which is good. That means deaths from rheumatoid arthritis are decreasing. People are still becoming disabled from arthritis, usually after having it for 7 years, but those numbers of disability are also down compared to decades past. And they are finding that early aggressive treatment within the first 6 months of disease onset is best. So check that article out if you want to learn more. It's on healthline.com. And speaking of Healthline, they also recently named my Arthritis Ashley blog as one of the top rheumatoid arthritis blogs. So thank you to Healthline for that honor. Okay, I am super tired now. I have a really, really, really busy few days ahead as my husband competes on NBC's American Ninja Warrior, and I have a new book that I'm working on, so I want to get working on that. And like I said a million times throughout this chat, because I'm being whiny tonight, my back and my neck are killing me, so I definitely need to lay down. So my pug Maggie and I bid you all adieu and wish you all a good night. I hope that your evening and the rest of your weekend is filled with love and light, and I hope it's as relatively healthy and as relatively pain-free as can be. I thank you all for your participation and for tuning in. I know this was a really long one, and so to all of you who stuck with me through it, way to go. Y'all are warriors, and I greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much. Don't forget, as always, to check out the autoimmune registry, healthline.com, arthritisashley.com, and abshock.com. Thank you, guys. Good night.